Greetings to all the students. Today, in this video, we will learn the second chapter in the Environmental Studies textbook of 3rd standard. The chapter is called The Plant Fairy. Before we begin this chapter, we know how, as a family, we go to weekends or holidays to have a nice time in a garden or a park in the neighborhood. We have fun, we play games, we eat, we relax, and then we come back home. Similarly, in this chapter, also we see a group of students or group of children having a nice time in a garden in the neighborhood. Let us begin. Last Sunday, we went to a garden in the neighborhood. Now, the spelling of neighborhood is tricky, so let us see that. NEIGHBOURHOOD, neighborhood. We played hide and seek, chupan chupai in Hindi, and Antakshari. You must all know what the game of Antakshari is. It's where one team starts singing and the end of the song is being taken over by the next team. We had a lot of fun. After some time, Didi said, "Let us play a new game today. I will become a plant fairy. The plant fairy will call out a name of something and you all will have to touch it." Now, in this first paragraph, we see how a group of children are having a lot of fun in a neighborhood by playing games like hide and seek and Antakshari. And since these are games they always play, they stopped playing and they started playing a new game called the Plant Fairy. This game was suggested by Didi, the eldest among all of them. So, according to this game, the plant fairy, which in this game is Didi, will call out something or name of something, and the others will have to go and touch it. Okay? Now, the game began. Didi said the plant fairy asks you to touch a plant. At once, all the children ran towards the plants. Now, in this game, the Didi asked all of them to touch a plant. Now, you can see in the picture below, you can see how different children go and touch different plants which are near them. Now, let us see the plants that they go and touch. Ammu, as you can see here, this is Ammu. Ammu held the marigold plant. You can see her hand, she's holding on to the marigold plant. This is a marigold plant. Now let us look at Shabnam. Shabnam, as you can see, is touching a jasmine plant. She is touching a jasmine. Can you see that? Now Michael over here is touching a mehendi bush. Can you see that? This is called a bush. Now he is touching that. And Dayaram is catching a neem tree and he's standing there. He's actually hugging a neem tree. So you can see how different children are holding on to different plant. One is holding on to a marigold plant, one a jasmine plant, one a mehendi bush, and one a neem tree. And this is Didi, and she is the plant fairy. Now, Didi said, "Very good. Everyone has touched a plant. But have you noticed that all plants are different from each other?" "Didi, you're also sitting on little plants," said Shabnam. So here in this paragraph we see how Didi has actually observed that all the children have touched a different plant. None of them touch the same plant and all the plants are different from each other in their shape, in their size, in their length, in their width, in everything. And when Didi told this, Shabnam has also pointed out how Didi is sitting on little plants. Now, the next question, what I wanted to ask you, is written here. Can you name the plant on which Didi was sitting? In the previous picture, we saw Didi was sitting on something. Now, do you guys know what she was sitting on? Yes, she was sitting on a plant called grass. Grass, as you see, also come under plants. Now, the game started again. The plant fairy now said, touch a tree which has either a thick or a thin trunk. Have you seen? Do you guys know what the meaning of trunk is? Trunk is nothing but what you see in this picture. Trunk is something that becomes a a stem which, when grown into a tree, becomes a trunk. It is the hardest part of a tree. Can you see? Some trunk are huge and really wide, like you can see in the first picture, and some are not that big, like this one. So, some are very thick as this trunk, and the example of such a thick trunk is seen in a banyan tree, and some are not so, example coconut tree. The children ran again to touch the trees with thick or thin trunks. Have you seen a tree with a trunk as thick as the one shown in the picture? Have you? Michael found the game very interesting. He thought how lucky the fairy was. She could order everyone around. Now I want to be the plant fairy, said Michael. The children laughed aloud. A boy fairy? They were now ready to take orders from the new plant fairy. So we see how in the next part of the game, Michael has become interested in becoming the plant fairy. Now, usually, boys are not fairies, right? When you see in movies, in serials, we always see a girl or we see a lady that portrays a fairy. Now, when Michael had suggested that he becomes the plant fairy, every child or every children that was there laughed at him. Why? Because there are no boy fairies, as it was not usual. But then they're children, so they were now ready to take orders from Michael. And why did Michael want to become the plant fairy? We might ask you, why did Michael want to become the plant fairy? It's because he thought being the plant fairy was very lucky. Why did he think like that? He thought because if he was the plant fairy, he could order everyone around. He could be the one not to do anything. He could just order around and the children will do what was ordered. So that is the reason why Michael wanted to be the plant fairy. Now, the first task, Michael said, get me some leaves quickly. But remember, you are not to pluck the leaves from the plants, said Didi. The children ran to collect the leaves which were lying on the ground. Now, here we see how Michael's first order was to get him some leaves, but then Didi had reminded all the children over there how not to pluck leaves, because plucking leaves is not a good habit. Leaves are part of a plant, and plants are also living beings. So, plucking a leaf will actually cause harm to the plant. It's not good, children. You should not pluck leaves from plants, as Didi has suggested. So, if he needs some leaves, the children are supposed to collect leaves that have already fallen onto the ground and collect them and then give it to Didi. Now, here you can see an exercise called Think and Write. This is for you to do at home. Write the names of leaves which you have seen. You would have seen, for example, I have filled out some: neem leaf, peepal leaf, banyan leaf, and basil leaf. These are some of the common leaves we see. Now, in your home, you might see different leaves. So, you can fill that out here and we will discuss that later. Now, I'll suggest you all to play this game called Plant Fairy at home so that you will know different types of plants and different types of leaves the next time we continue this chapter. As of now, we will end this chapter with Michael asking the children to collect the leaves and the children coming and collecting and giving Michael the leaves. In the next video, we will see the different kinds of leaves the children collected and what happens on afterwards. Thank you.